You might not know it, but the largest electric vehicle company in the world is not Tesla or BYD or VW or GM or any of the other major brands you're thinking of. It's Yadea, who makes more electric vehicles each year than all of those other companies combined. They just have fewer wheels.
Hey everyone, Micah here with Electrek, and today I'm coming to you from Jinzhai, China, at one of Yadea's 8 different worldwide locations, where they design and build all of the different electric vehicles you see behind me, and so much more than that. We're gonna go inside this sprawling factory complex, take a look at all of these different vehicles, and see just what goes into building such a diverse group of electric vehicles. Come along with us while we check it out.
That's right, Yadea is the world's largest electric vehicle maker, and it isn't even close. In the first half of last year, Yadea produced over 8 million electric scooters and e-bikes. In the same period, the world's second largest EV maker, Tesla, produced less than 1 million vehicles. Obviously, that's not really a fair comparison, since it's about as apples and oranges as you can get, with one side being the most popular type of electric vehicle in the world, and the other side being Tesla's. But it gives you a sense of the massive scale we're talking about. Yadea has 8 manufacturing factories worldwide in 3 countries. The one I'm visiting here in Anhui has over a dozen buildings, each of which is around 10 acres or 7 football fields in size. The small drone I brought to film it hit its altitude limit before I could even get a bird's eye view of the complex. It's this massive manufacturing footprint that enables the company to have dominated in the Asian market already, and to have established a strong foothold in Europe, where sales continue to grow. Now Yadea is starting to increase its presence in the US market, though starting with its smaller vehicles first, namely its electric bicycles and electric kick scooters, which both seem to be a better fit for the American audience. But no matter which type of vehicle we're talking about, they all go through a similar production process, which I got to see firsthand. My tour of the factory started in the plastics production area, where a couple dozen injection molding machines produce the parts used around the vehicles, such as these shrouds on the handlebars of mopeds, or these parts, which I'm pretty sure are the panels for under-seat storage areas, though I'm not 100% sure. The machines are largely automated, but there are a few workers that monitor the production and also collect the produced parts off of the conveyor belts. This part of the factory is also growing, and quickly. There are currently 24 machines in operation, but the company plans to have 60 injection molding machines running soon, helping to keep up with the rapid growth and growing demand for Yadea's electric scooters and e-bikes around the world. Next, I continued into the heart of the factory, which is where the assembly of those bikes and scooters takes place. There are 15 different production lines in this single building for various models, each of which is around 128 meters long, or about 400 feet. Frames, which are welded up elsewhere in the factory, make their way to the start of each line, where they're scanned and loaded up onto the conveyor belt system. Each of the workers has a certain task for assembly along the way. You'll also notice that they all have their own fans and air conditioning ducts above their workstations, so they can control the temperature around them. First, structural components like the suspension, bottom bracket, and other key pieces are mounted to the frames. Next, the wheels and hub motors go on, along with the chain. These models have pedals, which can be used as another way to power the mopeds. The company has dozens of different models though, with various features and levels of trim, ranging from simple e-bikes to fancier luxury scooters and mopeds, all the way up to highway-capable full-size electric motorcycles. On this line though, a mid-range model is being assembled. You can also see how these component conveyor elevators bring the right parts down to each station at the right time, helping to reduce rolling racks on the ground and to create a safer, more organized, and more efficient working environment. As we continue down the assembly line, we can see more of the plastic shrouding and the electronics have been added, including the lighting and the wiring. Each step along the way is orchestrated to give workers the parts they need at the right time, and is part of how the process can be so efficient. From what I could tell, a scooter rolled off the line here around once every 30 to 45 seconds, though there are some simpler models that can be produced even more quickly. The finished scooters are staged in an inspection area where employees run them through a several dozen point inspection process to inspect the quality of the manufacturing and the assembly. Once they pass that initial inspection, they're loaded onto a sky train that hoists the scooters up into the air and off to other buildings in the complex for more extensive testing. These sky bridges that connect the buildings allow the vehicles to pass between buildings in the complex without ever going outside, and they also facilitate the movement of those parts elevators that are prearranged to deliver the materials and components to each part of the assembly line. The electric mopeds, scooters, and e-bikes all have similar production processes, and in fact, so do the three-wheelers, though everything is just a bit bigger for those. I had the chance to take a peek inside part of the factory that prepares the frames for those three-wheelers, and I was amazed at how much automation there is in the process. There are still some manual tasks and some manual welding involved, though it seems to be mostly automated, with robotic laser cutting, automated sheet metal folding, welding robots, and other semi or fully automated tasks. That level of automation helps ensure a high quality standard, since the robots never get tired and never make mistakes. They laser cut and they robotically weld the exact same way every single time. From there, the frames head into the painting building, which starts with electrophoresis coating designed to make the steel rust-proof, just like the way car bodies are treated before painting. We came through on a lighter painting day, so there weren't as many frames on the conveyors running through the treatment process, but on the way out of the building, I saw these large environmental protection systems that they've designed to filter all of the outgoing materials, the water, gases, and other emissions that come out of the painting and coating process, ensuring that any harmful chemicals are filtered out or sequestered and don't make it out into the environment. I hopped a ride to another part of the factory to see where all of those painted three-wheeler frames go, though the frames themselves took a shortcut via that roller coaster system, dropping down into their own assembly building. The suspension and axles get mounted while the frames are still in the air, a step that's normally done on the ground in most other factories in China, but that Yadea performs in the air to provide better ergonomics for workers so they don't have to lie down on their backs to do the installation. From there, the frames then get dropped down onto individual chassis that move through the assembly line, with each chassis being height adjustable so workers can put them at the most comfortable working height. From here, the three-wheelers follow a similar assembly process as the mopeds we saw before, working their way through the production line where they roll off at the end as finished vehicles. I was able to snag a quick look at one of these testing areas too, where quality inspections for issues like alignment, sound, both quietness of the motor and loudness of the horn, motor speed and power, and lighting intensity are all tested. After all of those inspection tests are performed, the three-wheelers are packaged up to protect them and then loaded onto trailers for delivery to dealers around the country. Most of the three-wheelers produced here are for the domestic market, though Yadea's exports of three-wheelers are growing too. Which makes sense because I would absolutely rock one of these in the West. I had the chance to test out several of the company's different models, such as this C16 electric trike, which is more of a golf cart style vehicle that is commonly used by families, especially grandparents, for transporting the grandkids around and picking them up from school. But the larger three-wheelers for cargo use are incredibly popular on farms and in rural areas, where they basically serve as the work truck of China and many other Asian countries. This one has a 1.5 metric ton payload, or 3,300 pounds in red, white, and blue Freedom units. They had it loaded with 15 jugs of water, each weighing about 55 pounds. With over 800 pounds of load in the back, I didn't really notice much of a difference in performance. It's obviously built for a lot more weight than this, which is why I wanted to ramp it up a notch, with my hosts kindly humoring me. Even with 6 people aboard plus 800 something pounds of water, I don't even think we got halfway to the 3,300 pounds of payload that this three-wheeler is rated to handle. and other than the suspension riding a little bit lower, I don't think the trike even knew it was carrying the extra weight. It certainly didn't mind it at all. They build these things for hard, everyday use on farms, and it shows. For something a bit sportier, I next hopped on one of the electric mopeds they had set up for me, and you know, if there's been a theme here, it's probably that riding around on fun EVs is just better with friends. I also got a chance to try out the verification course they use to test new vehicles off the line, though I think I'd call it more of a torture course. It starts with a plunge through a shallow pool to simulate riding on flooded roads. After climbing out of the pool, you've got the washboard section, simulating rutted out roads. That leads immediately into a steep hill climb, followed by a descent to test the braking, or in this case, letting the regenerative braking do the work. That's followed by a cobblestone section to test the suspension. Then not one, but 26 speed bumps to further test the suspension. And lastly, just in case you thought you were going to get off easy, there's a gravel pit. Not a gravel road, mind you, which would be kind of normal and more stable, but this is like driving over a gravel pit that moves and shifts under you. Basically, it's quite a gauntlet to run. All of Yadea's vehicles have to pass it, even the three-wheelers, though I declined to give it a run myself on the three-wheelers, as that was just a bit too intimidating for me. Next up though were the electric scooters and e-bikes, which are actually available in the North American market, so here's where things get really interesting. These electric scooters are all amazingly comfortable to ride. They use dual swing arm suspension front and rear with rubber elastomers instead of spring shocks, making them lighter and more comfortable. My favorite might have actually been the smallest model, the Yadea Artist it's called. It's fairly light at just 41 pounds, or what I should say is light for a full suspension scooter, and it makes it so nice to ride around on being that lightweight. Joy, who is in charge of the scooter department, showed me how the folding works, and I have to say that I really like the look and portability of these things. I was curious about trying to run the gauntlet with these, but Joy was afraid the Western journalist would hurt himself on her watch, so she demonstrated it for me.
She's coming in a little hot.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
I wanted to try it too though, which in hindsight just left me emasculated when I couldn't match Joy's riding skill on the gravel patch. But hey, at least I nearly sent myself into orbit on the hill climb ramp. As a bit of a treat, Joy then pulled out this awesome three-wheeled tilting scooter they've been working on, and showed me how it worked. Then she gave me the safety briefing before reluctantly letting me try it myself. Fortunately, I was able to win back some credit in her eyes with my mad leaning skills. Anyone who has been following my coverage for a while will know that electric bicycles will always be my true love. You always remember your first. And so getting to test out Yadea's Coco electric bike was an awesome opportunity for me. This one is already available in the US, making it even more interesting to me. With a top speed of 20 miles per hour, or secretly 25 miles per hour if you unlock it through that giant 5-inch screen, it is a fast and surprisingly great riding e-bike. Even without suspension, its 3-inch wide tires make for a nice and smooth ride. In fact, we used it as a rolling camera dolly for my GoPro, which is how I got these smooth tracking shots, so you can see how well it rides. It even handled that speed bump torture test just fine, showing that a utility bike has a lot of uses, even as a camera dolly. They've got a pile of accessories for it too, so you can really turn it into a cargo bike or a utility runabout, etc. Plus, I love the turn signals, which are done in a clever way by spacing them far apart on the handlebars, instead of like most e-bikes that make turn signals largely useless by putting them right next to each other on the taillight. With hydraulic disc brakes and a torque sensor, the CoCo has got a lot of the key parts most people are looking for. Plus, to be honest, I just really like the fun colors. Can you blame me? All told, I spent basically the entire day at the Yadea factory. Though even with 8 hours, I only made it through a few of the buildings and tested a tiny portion of the variety of EVs they produce. But one thing was for sure. I've never seen another electric vehicle factory that had this level of professionalism, quality standards, and sheer scale. And I've seen EV factories all over. I've been to many around China. I've seen them in the US, Sweden, India, Croatia, Estonia, Spain, and probably several others I'm forgetting. But Yadea's operations topped them all, and this is just one of 8 different manufacturing locations the company operates. With this level of precision, efficiency, and attention to detail, I'm sure we're going to see Yadea reaching similar levels of success in Europe and North America. Now I just need to figure out how to get myself some of these models they won't be exporting yet.
Thanks for watching, everyone. We hope you enjoyed that video here at Yadea's facility where they design and build all of these awesome EVs. If you did enjoy it, why don't you give it a thumbs up? And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any of our future electric vehicle videos. We'll see you here next time.